Coming up this week on the OK Bloomer podcast.
Did we ever just get thrown right back into it with this episode?
We start with C&C Music Factory, and the gals are dancing. Well, Jenna Von Oy is dancing. Mayim is doing whatever Mayim does when they tell Mayim to dance. Remember how this show started in episode 1, season 1? That was like actually full of like feminist ideals and like female empowerment. And now we're just like making fun of feminists. Just straight up. We have a character that's like, freaking feminists. Who are we making this show for, guys? I don't know who that is. Did you look her up?
I'm assuming she's in C&C Music Factory.
Oh, good job. I was like, I don't know.
It didn't take me a lot to connect those dots.
Good
Curtis.
stuff. Okay.
Why is a square dancing competition still on at 1 a.m. with children?
Where Mayim goes into business for herself with a whoa that sounds exactly like Joey's whoa. Oh man, there's some stuff going on behind the scenes with these actors.
Oh, it's time for Mayim to get
Joey
a catchphrase
Lawrence, man,
too.
he's getting too popular, Mayim. He's getting too popular. You got to cut that catchphrase off of the knees, girl.
And as I said, I don't know much about C&C Music Factory, so when the first guy walked out of the car, I was like, is that Arsenio Hall?
Life is a bitch, and then you die, Blossom. You've learned that this week.
Don't know about the future. Don't.
They don't care about the future, because they live it in the past. Sal and Curtis taking all 5 seasons of Blossom to task. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be weak in the knees. This show's got more range than this on the keys. Only gal in the house, and that's how she goes. One brother was a junkie, and the other one was. Weekly lessons coming fast in the Russo flat. Blossom's teenage girl problems are as big as her hat. So take your opinionations and make them shine. It's the OK Bloomer podcast, and it's about damn time.
Don't know. Don't know.
Welcome to the OK Bloomer podcast on Dufferin Avenue Media Network, our new home for the OK Bloomer podcast, which has been off the air, I guess you would say, for the last 3 years. My name's Curtis Anderson. Over here is Sal Accardo. Now, brief history of the podcast. We started this during COVID times because we were bored, and back in the day, we used to work at a television station together and would have many long nights of editing into the wee hours of the morning. For some reason, we would always make fun of Blossom, a show we had never actually seen. And then when Disney Plus dropped and we no longer lived in the same city, we thought it would be a fun podcast idea to go back at the beginning and actually watch this show that we spent so many nights lampooning and actually like break it down and see what it was about and see if it was worthy of our scorn when we clearly didn't know what we were talking about. So we made 34 episodes before the world opened up again and we started working opposite shifts, and the podcast died quicker than Agnes after the first episode. And that was the real life neighbor that died in real life, and they immediately wrote her out. Sal Accardo, welcome back. We got video this time.
What's going on,
buddy?
man? This is wild. We're moving up in the world. We have like a team. What's up with we have a team that helps us work on this show.
There was a
shout out Noah
here
right now.
Yeah, shout out the Phenom here, working behind the scenes. We have Network Ryan hanging up curtains and making sure you're not frozen. I'm a little nervous, though, because you know my history of, like, the whatever alien implant I have in my skull that ruins everything, like, ruins all the technology around me. So you can see I didn't trust my laptop. I killed trees this morning printing off my notes because there's enough stuff going on in the DAM studio here. And I don't mean DAM as in, like, DAM. That's kind of like what it's called, the, like, Dufferin Avenue Media Network studio. They call it the DAM studio. There's enough stuff that can go wrong thanks to my weird implant. When the mothership starts calling me, everything shuts down and doesn't work. So I've got another 3 years worth of like technology failing me stories if you want, Sal. We could do a podcast on that. But I'm back. I'm talking.
Well, I got to tell you, you're the one that was in perfect form with your technology this week. I'm the one that had the issues. I have like the clunkiest laptop in the world.
See, I disagree. This was the team you speak of. I just sat down in the chair and they had to like turn my mic on for me and everything because I was lost, deer in the headlights, Sal. But we're gonna do it. This is amazing. This feels good. What?
I know. I can't believe it's been 3 long years. You know, it was like, hey, when's the cast coming back? I miss OK Bloomer. Nobody ever said that to us at all. But
we had that one guy. We had that one guy that messaged me directly and said, "Are you guys not making episodes anymore?" I was like, "This has got to be like how did my mom make a fake
I know, right?
email account?
My mom doesn't know how to use Quora. What's going on?
So really quickly though,
Yelp? Are we on Yelp?
we did 26 episodes in the regular format of us just recording audio, and then that led to what I call the lost episodes, where we had some in the can that never got edited, and then you were getting married, and I actually flew over to Toronto, and we did one together in person, and then the next two we did with special guest John Green, correct?
That is correct.
And then we did,
My
I
old
think,
homie
one
John.
more that never got edited, and these just sat. These sat in audio limbo, unedited, for the last 3 years, and so we're working on
They
those
did.
right now. So we've got this little, like, 6 lost episode little stretch that we're going to hopefully get up here as well. I think the plan is to get the complete back catalog on this network as well. This is a crazy day, Sal. We're making this up as we go, but I'm so excited to see your smiling face again.
I love
and I'm
it.
so excited to revisit the Russo house and get back on this incredible train we started back in 2001.
Oh my God, man. And did we ever just get thrown right back into it with this episode?
This may be the perfect episode to come back to, Sal.
I agree.
Let's jump into it. So we also have the Phenom, who's kind of like the voice of God that can actually do these reads for us while we sit back and enjoy our beverages. So what do you want? Do you want to give the name of the show, or do you want Phenom to do the whole thing and do the synopsis? This is like where we get to take a break. What do you want?
Why don't we let Phenom do it, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
All right, take it away, Phenom.
Absolutely. All right, Season 2, Episode 20. You must remember this. Disney Plus says Blossom and Six stand in line overnight for tickets to a concert. IMDb says Blossom and Six camp out and get tickets for a C&C Music Factory concert. Anthony cannot understand why his new work partner is giving him the cold shoulder. And TV Database says Blossom and Six wait in line for 15 hours to get tickets to a C&C Music Factory. Joey gets his first babysitting job. Anthony is mystified by a female coworker's hostility. This first released in March 2nd, 1992.
Thank you, Phenom. Once again,
Awesome.
and before when we did this, you were always the one giving the Disney Plus review, Sal, and I didn't realize it's short because it's like on a streaming service, which made I always wondered why it would always be like 6 words, but yeah, you can't put a paragraph on Disney Plus.
Right. I suppose that makes sense, but we used to just rip on them for being
Yeah,
lazy.
for being
so harshly
lazy.
for no reason whatsoever.
I did like the terrible framing for IMDb. They camp out and get tickets for a C&C Music Factory. Something, I don't know. There was a bunch of mistakes in one of them. I can't remember which one that made me go, come on. Made me go,
It was
if you
probably
will, Sal.
IMDb.
Okay.
Well done. That's how the show opens. But I got to, where I'm watching these episodes now, I feel like mine is all out of order. Did you have the intro first, then the cold open, and then a hard cut to like the first scene with the too many cooks shot?
No, I'm not watching it through some like third party
we-
like Afghanistan.
We don't got to worry
streaming
about where I'm
service.
watching it, all right?
It's
But-
all good. No,
but just for
it was
future
cold
reference.
open, regular open show like usual.
I figured that would be the order that would go in. So I will reverse it for the sake of this podcast. But just so
trust
you
you.
know, for no reason whatsoever, that's how I'm watching it these days.
Amazing. All right, hit
Everything's
us
out
with the
of
cold
order, and
open,
it's very
Sal.
odd.
Let's reacquaint us with the Russo family.
Oh, man. Yeah. Where are we here? Yeah. Okay. So this is where I wrote, is this the cold open? So it's zooming out of the TV and the music video for C&C Music Factory. Things that make you go, What'd you think about that? Did that take you back or what?
So back. I said we start with C&C Music Factory and the gals are dancing. Well, Jenna Von Oy is dancing. Mayim
I
is doing
made note
whatever
of-
Mayim does when they tell Mayim to dance. So we're
I
back
made
to
note of
this.
that as well. I said Six is killing it and Blossom's just trying to keep up. But the 90s are alive and well here.
They press stop on the boombox before, quote, they kill themselves. Are they afraid they're going to sweat till they bleed?
Very good.
For the younger folks watching, that was one of the famous lines from like all their songs. They drop that in all their music. Gonna make you sweat till you bleed.
To be
So-
honest, I don't know that much about C&C Music Factory.
I don't either. I just
remember
remember that line and the really bad. It got the '90s were getting away already with C&C Music Factory. They were taking
Right.
they were taking the genre and driving it into the ground.
Well, the funny part is with the way that this show's been going the last few episodes is when they specifically mention a band or an actor, you know that they're going to show up at some point. But
Well,
what was
that's
funny
coming.
was as I was watching this episode, I actually forgot that the whole thing was about C&C Music Factory. So we'll get to it later on.
What a pleasant surprise for you. Okay, we jump into the plot. They're afraid to ask Blossom's dad if they can go to the C&C Music Factory concert. And I wrote, is that because they're embarrassed they like C&C Music Factory?
Totally. They said that Six said that her mom, or she already told her mom that Nick said it was okay, and that she told Jeff and Greg that they already had the tickets.
Jeff and Greg,
Blossom said,
hot
"You
names
told the
for.
guys that we had tickets, so there's guys now apparently."
So yeah, they've
This
got
is
these
the
guys
first
that
and last we will hear these characters.
they promised tickets to Jeff and Greg, which is, those were the hot boy names in 1991 or 92,
Right.
right? So, yes, she's lied to her mom saying that Blossom's mom already gave Blossom permission to stand in line all night to get these tickets that they've also promised for Jeff and Greg. And I would like to point out again that in a show where Blossom is famous for wearing stupid hats, once again, no hat for Blossom. Jenna Von Oy, the sixth character, is the one wearing the dumb hat. Like this is one of the bigger Mandela effects that nobody talks about,
Yeah, it's very backwards.
right?
But Blossom comes around. It happens by the end of this episode. Where are we at here?
She says, if it's Greg and Jeff we're talking about, if I had to lie, I told them we were the opening act to get them to come.
Right.
All right.
Because Greg and Jeff are big shit, man.
They're a big deal. The most
No,
popular boys in the
I kind of
class, I
started an
imagine.
eye roll counter here too, where it just cuts to Blossom rolling her eyes because that happens a lot throughout this series.
We laugh at the fact that they're going on and on about Jeff and Greg, but with this show, there's a good chance that suddenly Toby Maguire is going to show up playing Jeff, because they had
That's
all
true.
these extras that were yet to make it big show up in the first season. That
And
caused
Tobey
me to
Maguire was
Leonardo
one of them.
DiCaprio every 5 minutes.
Yeah, so then Blossom's nervous about telling Nick about it, and then Six gives her this big sports pep talk. And she says, I don't know if I could talk to my dad, but I sure feel like I could kick the crap out of Notre Dame.
Sports jokes in Blossom are
Right.
amazing. Those are going to
And
land
then-
all the time with the target demographic, right?
Yeah, totally. So then this part is where it hard cuts to the too many cooks shot of outside the Russo house for me.
Well, if you watched it properly, it went to the intro, and I'm so excited to say this, Sal.
Let's
It
hear
asks if I want to skip the intro, and I do not, because it's one of the greatest opening songs ever.
We
and I
are
have to
so
say that
back. We are so back.
I gotta say that every time we record. I will never skip the intro. I didn't
Right.
track what she was wearing when she did her flip, because that's their Simpsons thing. Instead of Bart writing something different on the chalkboard each time, she does this really awkward front flip, crotch first into the camera, and she wears one of three outfits. It's the second last shot, and then she pops up all smiley.
I think they gave up on this trope altogether.
Yeah, I think we gave up on this trope altogether too, because I was like, I don't feel like we're turning a new leaf, and I don't really care what she's. One of the things we actually did talk about though is she was wearing Dead Agnes's sweater. Remember, she was wearing that old lady sweater in one of them, and then
Oh,
another
that's
one
right,
she was
yeah.
wearing Rocky Maiavia's Aztec arrows. I don't know. I'm done. We're moving on. We're not
I
doing
can't
that
wait till we
anymore.
get to the next season with that intro. Where
I-
they're all
I did have
all
that
the characters are in
question.
it. Yeah.
Have we not seen that intro yet? Because
It
I was
must
like,
come in
where's
the next few
where's
seasons.
Joey punching? We haven't got
So
there
good.
yet? And
We
she's
have not.
dancing on the piano. I remember that so vividly, but I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah, all I said about this intro is just I miss this, man.
Yeah, right.
I'll put this theme song up against any of the great theme songs from this era.
100%.
And in my head, Dr. Teeth from the Muppets is the one singing it.
He'd have to be. He'd have
Right?
to be based off Dr. John. It's too bad we didn't. He didn't ever do a collab with
He
those two
should've.
characters, right? Character. I'm calling Dr. John a character. Sorry, music.
It's kind of a character,
Okay.
Dr. John.
All right, let's go back to you. Too many cooks shot. Where are we going, Sal?
We're outside the Russo house. All the guys are in the kitchen. So all the characters are back. It obviously feels like a long time since we've seen them. Anthony's going on about a new female coworker that's being really cold to him. And I put, Joey already has a boner under the table.
And we get a whoa 2 minutes and 3 seconds into the episode.
Yeah. Talk about whistling while you work. And I was like, I don't fully get it, but I'm already laughing.
Yeah. And you didn't have to explain about Joey's physical predicament. You just assume that's always happening when you see this character, right? Supervising producer, Judith D. Allison. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
This zany cast?
Yeah.
Judith D. Allison is back. Supervising producer, Bill Richmond, which is also Buzz's last name, like the character, right? Isn't it Buzz Richmond?
That's right.
Okay.
That's our guy, Bill Richmond.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so
I
Anthony's
didn't
got a
clock
new...
any of this. I know that was on you.
Yeah, it's all good. So Anthony's new partner is a girl. Yeah, and Joey says, talk about whistling while you work. You already said that joke. And I wrote, I can't tell if I like or hate that joke. Producers, Josh Goldstein and Jonathan Prince are back. Sweet Prince returns. So here we go. I forgot this style of writing that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, let's track this. Anthony doesn't know why his new partner doesn't like him. And Joey goes, did you stare at her boobs? And he goes, no, Joey. But there's like children's laughter in the studio. It was like kids laughing at that joke. And I've got my hands on my head as it just continues. Like I'm uncomfortable.
I'm very uncomfortable.
I said, well, at least those kids will have to leave the studio audience when the Buzz character comes on set, because I'm pretty sure the actual actor himself can't be within 100 feet of children. Anyway, he didn't stare at her boobs or her butt, and Joey says, well, that's the problem. She doesn't think you're interested. And we get a close-up of Nick Russo.
Nick doing an eye roll.
Doing the eye roll. Yes,
There's
Nick,
the second one in like less than a minute and a half. Nick,
who always treats his ladies with class and respect, if I remember correctly, especially the ones of Irish descent. Shout out Eileen McCafferty, his one-night stand he never called back. That was a thing.
That is a classic character that we are never going to stop bringing up.
No, because we have to like reintroduce the new viewers and listeners to
I also
our
think
ongoing.
That's probably the first. I also think that's probably the first episode that divided us clearly.
It was a wild ride, that one.
It was, yeah. Then Tony says she doesn't hate me for any other reason than I exist. And here comes Buzz.
I missed a good joke.
Buzz.
Sorry, Sal. Press pause. I was really proud of this.
All right.
I actually wrote, for those of you tuning in for the first time, in a previous episode, Nick hooked up with an Irish lady named Eileen McCafferty, and then Lady Isabelled her. Lady Isabel, Sal, is a famous Irish ghost. Continue. I'm sorry. I wanted to get that in. I was really proud of that.
I'm so glad you did. So Tony says she doesn't hate me for any other reason than that I exist. And this is where Buzz comes in going, a feminist. And then Buzz makes a joke about getting beat up by a girl for over a year. And Tony says, oh, why'd you stay so long? He goes, it was in kindergarten. And that was a record scratch for me.
I'm going to probably bring this up in the next few episodes, but like, remember how this show started in episode 1, season 1? That was like actually full of like feminist ideals and like female empowerment. And now we're just like making fun of feminists. Just straight up. We have a character that's like, freaking feminists. Who are we making this show for, guys? Like,
it was.
Who's the audience? And there's children laughing at boob jokes. Like, this is, I don't know. I can't really remember where we left off. I more remember like the first season. Like those lost episodes are a little blurry. So I don't know if this was like a gradual or this just episode was a sudden, but I was very confused.
It's like they were trying to make the jokes for the older brother or something, but it's
right.
It's odd, but that's basically Buzz's character. And especially in this episode, that's his entire role. It's just coming in with those dumb old man quips. But I mean, I guess it's better than him hooking up with ladies, because I don't want to see that anymore.
The next few minutes, it was very like sitcom-y joke and interaction.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
I remembered. See, I don't remember the show being cut like a typical sitcom, but it was like reaction to the laugh track back to them, and the pacing felt weird from what I was used to, unless I'm completely remembering wrong. But it was written by Eve Needleman. Here we go. Eve Needleman making an anti-feminist joke apparently right out of the gates. Bold move, Eve.
Way to go, Eve.
Right? And I also
So what's
mentioned
Joey
that.
doing this episode? What's his story?
Pardon me?
What's Joey's story this episode?
Well, before we get into that, I said Joey and Buzz are having their own personal contest of who can dress the worst on set today. But all right, Sal, Six and Blossom come in with their sleeping bags.
Yeah, before that, Joey explains that he's babysitting tonight for $5 an hour. Freddie Robinson's 10-year-old brother. And he says that Freddie's going to a mother-son square dancing competition. And this is where Buzz gets another line in. The old Oedipus hoedown, huh? He's 0-3 on lines in this episode.
I didn't get that. What are we talking about?
Oedipus is like isn't that the attraction to your mother?
Oh, okay. I listened to it twice and I was like, this is just gibberish. Oedipus. Okay, gotcha. I'm not learning.
It's not a great. Yeah.
There's a lot of
it's
moving
not
parts.
great,
You're
but-
expecting a lot of their audience to make, what is it, a like Greek tragedy? The 10-year-olds laughing at boob jokes in the studio audience this week probably didn't get it. Neither did I.
Right. So yeah, then Joey tells Nick that Blossom and Six are plotting something, and he says something about having Lucy and Ethel face. I don't know if you clocked that.
Yeah.
And then Buzz says something about, I haven't seen this episode yet. Why is this character on the show?
I did like how he just popped up from below the cupboards when he made that feminist joke. It was like we had not seen him yet, and suddenly it was just like Buzz just like rises up.
Oh God, there he is.
Pops up like Rey Mysterio Jr. from the floor. Booyaka! So in walks Six and Blossom, right? They've got their sleeping bags under their arms. Something is up. C&C Music Factory concert tickets go on sale, and they want to stand in line all night. Six says her mom already said yes, and Nick, who I thought was acting poorly so far in this episode, does a really good job with this interaction, for real. And he's like, yeah, I just talked to your mom on the phone, Six, and apparently I already said yes. And then he says, since I've already given you my permission, I've decided to go along with myself. And this is where the Nick character, like Ted Wyss?
Yeah.
He only,
something like that.
his best acting is when he's like being nice and interacting with Blossom.
Right.
That's the only time, like that's the only thing that works for this character. When he's not in that dynamic of him being nice to his daughter, it's the most clunky, unevenly written character. But this was good. I thought he did a really good job with this scene of like, I caught you in a lie, but I'm a cool dad, and you know what? That's fine. I get it. You know?
Yeah, and that's what I took note of this episode too, is like Nick does work when he's being like the cool, laid back dad. But the last few episodes that we watched, it was just him flying off the handle for almost no reason. And it's just like when he gets back to this character, I think that's when Nick works best. And I made note of how surprisingly cool he was with letting Blossom go and sit outside of a record store all night to buy tickets to a concert, which is a very 1992 thing.
Did you notice this though? So they're in line at Rockin' Records, and I swear Mayim goes into business for herself with a whoa that sounds exactly like Joey's whoa. Oh man, there's some stuff going on behind the scenes with these actors.
Oh, it's time for Mayim to get a
Joey Lawrence,
catchphrase,
man,
too.
he's getting too popular, Mayim. He's getting too popular. You got to cut that catchphrase off of the knees, girl.
I liked how excited they were when Nick was just like completely cool with it.
Yeah.
Letting them go.
Yeah.
So anyways, it cuts to outside Rockin' Records, and they have 15 hours to wait until the store opens. All I really took note of was that Blossom said if she was Stephen King, she could write a novel in that time. I don't know if that's a shot at Stephen King. I don't know what's
take
going
that,
on
Stephen
there.
King.
Yeah.
I did like the visuals of people lined up at night. And I was like, that's never going to happen again. And then it reminded me of when you and I used to do those midnight launches for new video games, when you used to do the video game segment on the place you and I used to work at, the TV station. And that was probably like the last of that. Like lining up for midnight releases for physical media. I can't think of anything else. I guess Pokemon cards we just saw. That's probably like the last storm the doors, other than generic like Black Friday stuff.
It's hard to say, man. I think that's that's something of the past, or at least it's very rare that would come up again.
Mm-hmm. So it was nice. It was very 1991 to see them, and just like the community of all these fans in line together. Like that's good times, right? That's something those days are gone and they're never coming back.
Brings you back. So then they have this thing where they're both bringing the same items for camping out overnight, but like, so they both bring boom boxes and no cassette tapes. And there's a few more of these that I didn't really track.
You could still listen to the radio, gals.
Yeah, right?
And you know how many D batteries it would take to power a boombox for 15 hours? Like a lot.
They would have to bring a lot of batteries.
Mm-hmm. They talk about, was it Zekma Davis?
I clocked Zelma.
Zelma Davis. I don't know who that is. Did you look her up?
I'm assuming she's in C&C Music Factory.
Oh, good job. I was like, I don't know.
It didn't take me a lot to connect those dots.
Good
Curtis.
stuff. Okay. Blossom says it would suck to be stuck with a stupid name. And then we hard cut to 6. And
they almost like wink at the camera here.
But it was a wasted reaction. Yeah, like 6 could have
Yeah.
literally just spiked the camera and it would have been funny. I can't remember. She just said, "Tell me about it," which was dumb. I don't know. I was like a completely wasted joke. It could have been like really smart, you know, if they broke the fourth wall. It was like, oh, could you imagine having a dumb name and having her be like, but she was just like, "Tell me about it," and that was it. They moved on.
Yeah.
Pretty much
And
anything else would have been funnier.
I think that was the end of the scene. I think it just cut out there too, and I was like, all right, I guess that was a joke.
Well, they talk about names. Was that later? Because she says Blossom would be a good Joan, and
no, this was here.
She names a bunch of Joans, including Saskatoon's own Joni Mitchell, who went to one semester of high school here and then left and found our city, quote, racist, and asked for her school supplies back, and we didn't give them back. Instead, we put them in a museum to honor her that she didn't really want, and then we made her a promenade, and named it after her. Go Joni Mitchell. But she's forgiven us since then. She's all about Saskatoon. But yeah, that's what happened after you left, Sal. And I went on social media one day, an entire day, and fought with everybody about how Gene Simmons' wife, Shannon Tweed, who is actually from Saskatoon and takes her clothes off in every single movie she's been in, should have the promenade. And then at the end of the day, after everyone was mad at me, I said, I got to be honest, folks, I don't even know what a promenade is. It was one of my finer moments. Good memory, Sal.
That's a very Curtis Anderson thing to do.
Right? That's maybe the most Curtis Anderson-ish thing. Anyway, they mentioned a whole bunch of Joans that Blossom thinks suck, and they missed Joan Jett. I was like, that's the only...
Oh, yeah.
Joan Jett's awesome. But they're like, it could be Joan Rivers and Joni Mitchell.
Joan Baez, Joan Claude Keeley.
And she's just pouring cold water over all those Joans.
That's all I was
Joan
paying
Jett's like the
attention to
coolest girl in the world. No, can't do it.
Yeah, the only thing I was paying attention to was the old-ass thermos that she had.
We got too many cooks the night edition, Sal.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a knock at the door. Joey answers. Deborah Joe Rupp is back.
It's the plumber. Remember?
I know, right? Her name's Mrs. Robinson, and she hands Joey a baby. And the kid that he told he would babysit told him it was a 10-year-old brother instead of a 10-month-old brother. I thought the kid's reaction was pretty funny despite having no lines here.
I thought Joey Lawrence was really good here. Like, he wasn't overacting in front of her. He wasn't like, whoa, baby, oh. He was like what you'd expect of like the over-the-top character that they usually ask him to go to. But he was like keeping it cool while you could see he was like freaking out in his head. And then when he's hugging the baby, I said, I can't tell where Joey's loud shirt ends and the baby's jumper begins because they're the same color.
I did not clock that. I clocked the crowd. I clocked the crowd going, "Ah!" when he was holding the baby, and I felt like we'll get more into it later on, but like I think they knew that they had something with the Joey character here, and they were just using this as a storyline to make him more likable.
Yeah,
that's all that this storyline felt like.
We'll get to that in the next scene, but I think this is the tail end of that. Nick asks Joey if he even knows how to change a baby, And Joey goes, I think she wants the same one back. And I said, that's actually a really funny joke. Like, that actually almost made me spit my coffee out. They're finding the line with the Joey character in this episode perfectly. But yeah, we'll get to, you're onto something. We'll get to that in the following scene here.
Well, it happens at the end of this scene where Nick leaves and Joey's trying to get the baby to stop crying. And he starts singing Stevie Wonder's My Sherry Amore. And I think this is the first time Joey sings on the show.
And it is,
I was like,
goddamn perfect.
I know. I was
he
like,
is
man,
on key.
This guy is so talented. And it's like, I just wondered, why did he never amount to anything?
We've talked about this in former episodes. It's like, there's 600 Marvel characters. You don't think Joey Lawrence could have got one and actually have this guy like make millions of money on the tail end of his career? Like, he's earned it. He's probably kept himself in amazing shape. He's got like a way more range than these. I don't know.
But I don't know what happened.
Justice for Joey.
As far as I know, he never had any scandals.
No, he seems like everything I can read about him. He seems like a good dude.
Like Kirk Cameron.
What?
I said he never became an unlikable prick like Kirk Cameron. So like,
well, yeah,
I don't know what his deal is.
Kirk Cameron just doesn't want to be left behind, right? Actually, the scene does go a little long. Yeah, because he's singing Stevie Wonder. And I said, this is his, like, Tatiana Ali moment. Like, remember Fresh Prince that one time where she got mad and then she just got up on stage and started singing Respect? And it was the most, like, gratuitous. We need you to know that Tatiana Ali can sing, okay? Just we need you guys to know that. Like, her rep or whatever was like, we need to showcase her singing because she's going to try to branch off after this show ends. And I felt like that was kind of what's going on with Joey, was the people are like, we have struck gold with this character, like this actor.
Yeah.
Not only is he out acting everyone in this show, dude can sing, he's good looking. Like, this is the jump off point for Joey Lawrence. And it should have been. Right? And then I felt really bad for him because he knocks this song out of the park and then it ends. The studio audience doesn't clap. They don't cheer. It's just
there's nothing. There's no like joke to get out of the
look
scene.
How
there's like
freaking talented this guy is suddenly, and it's just nothing. I don't know if they like. That was clearly. I swear, Blossom and Joey's agents, like Mayim's, were fighting backstage because she's like, "This is not the Joey Lawrence show," and they were making it into the Joey Lawrence show. Lots of stuff going on here.
Next scene, Tony walks into the kitchen. Nick's there making sandwiches. Tony says, "Dad, it's 1:00 in the morning. Why are you making sandwiches? I thought you quit smoking dope." And the crowd ate this up.
Oh, yeah. Crowd full of potheads that stumbled into the Blossom taping after they ushered the kids out. They thought that joke landed hard. They're like, I too eat bologna at 1 a.m. when I'm high. Relatable.
The only question I had about this scene was I could only think about the square dancing competition. And I was like, why is a square dancing competition still on at 1 a.m. with children?
That's a great question.
That was my only question for this
I never
scene.
even thought about that, yeah. It's a 24-hour thing. It's like that episode of Always Sunny where it's like the last one's dancing wins
dance
something.
Competition.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So Nick's going to drop food off for the girls. And then
so he's making sandwiches to drop it off to the girls. He promises that he's not checking up on them, but like even so, I think he's still being like cool dad in this episode.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Your like 15-year-old daughter is sitting outside of a record store, and we'll get into the whole scene of it later on, but it's next to a biker bar. Did you clock that?
I did clock that. This is the best Nick character. It works when he does this.
Great. Yeah.
You're okay, totally Sal. Right. What did you think here? Anthony's like, well, Ellen, his mean ambulance partner, is going to come over. And I was like, okay, pause. 1992, which cameo are we going to get? And I was trying to think of like girls in 1992 on sitcoms who play mean characters. The only thing I could come up with was like the daughter in Roseanne, because wasn't the black-haired lady kind of angry all the time? So I thought that's what they were going to go. They were going to bring a pre-existing character that is known for being mean, and then everyone was going to clap when she came in, and we didn't get that at all.
No, but you were on the right track with that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it worked because we got Leah Remini.
Go for it.
Sorry, this whole dynamic was hilarious when she came in and she was like friendly to Nick, but like a total dick to Tony.
She
played
walks
it
in though, and one guy in the audience catcalled her. Did you hear that? What
I
the
did hear
audience
that.
like people kind of cheered, and then one guy's like, "Oh yeah!" And I was like, "Read the room, bro."
This isn't Married with Children.
Right? She was like berating her husband. She's like, "I don't know if this audience is gonna know who I am. You have to scream so loud, Henry. When I walk in, you need to go crazy for me, okay? Or it's couch time for you." Is literally what
Were they
happened.
expecting to ride off the success of Saved by the Bell or something like that?
I
Because
don't
what else
know.
would she have been in around this time? That's the
She
only thing I
was
can
the
think of.
future King of Queens mom, right?
Yeah, but that was later on.
Yeah, yeah.
This
Yeah,
is-
I don't know.
was
I
she on
looked her
Saved by
up.
the Bell at this time?
Is that
She was
what
on
she-
those episodes where they worked at the beach.
Oh, okay, that may have been it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if she was like, because there was like 100 people on just the 10 of us. Thought maybe she was there because I feel like she was probably on some show that the network
She
was
was
running
one
at
of
the
the
same
10
time.
of us.
Yeah, one of the 10 of us. She was the 11th.
Yeah. So
Yep.
she was super nice to Nick and very cold to Anthony. And then Nick says he's leaving with the sandwiches to bring to the girls. And then Tony's like, the acting, like, don't leave me alone with this girl. And I thought she was going to stab him with the knife that they were making sandwiches with.
To be continued with that amazing side story.
Yeah, we'll
Upstairs,
put a pin in it.
Joey's still singing to the baby. He's still harmonizing. He's still on key. It's incredible. But then he starts singing about taking the baby to a nudie show. And then he kisses
Right.
the baby on the forehead. And finally, the crowd goes, "Oh."
Yeah.
Nice
And it was
moment.
like a 30-second scene. And that was the entire point of it, was just to hear him singing again. No
Mhm.
joke at the end, nothing.
We go back in line, Sal. This was funny. They Six lights up a smoke just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's the good. They have kept the fact that all this random stuff happens that normally would be the focus of the sitcom episode, and it never is in Blossom. You know that? Like that was
Right.
always a running
Yeah.
theme where you're like, "Hey, this is what the episode is going to be about," but it never is. And here we
Right.
go again.
I was fully expecting this to be the big scene that like blows
Yeah.
up and where Blossom gets in trouble and learns her lesson.
Yeah,
And this is where I forgot that the whole episode was about C&C Music Factory.
So Six lights up a smoke to fit in with the older people in line. She's not going to smoke
Right.
it. She just wants to like wave it around. And Blossom's like, "Okay, give me one too." So they're lighting them, and then you hear "Hello, girls," and they look up, and Nick's standing there with the bologna sandwiches. And I was like, "Oh shit, here we go. They're in trouble. They're not going to
This
be
is
allowed to
it.
see C&C
Yeah.
Music Factory. You know, now he's going to like expose that they lied, and it's all going to come crashing down on these girls, and that's the lesson." Nope. Nick's cool, Dad. He's like, "I believe you weren't going to smoke. Here's some sandwiches."
Yeah, he was like, just don't let me catch you doing that again. I'll trade you these sandwiches for the cigarettes. And he said, everybody looks tough with salami on rye in their mouth.
And again, well, as we've talked about this whole episode, this is the best dynamic between Nick and Blossom. Because again, it's
Agreed.
believable. I'm like, this is a cool dad that trusts his daughter because his daughter doesn't ever do anything wrong. So it's not like it's believable that Blossom and Six are going to suddenly like light up for real, right? And he
Right,
trusts her, and that's
right.
really good. It's really weird when they're at odds, when the writers try to make Nick and Blossom like fight. It
Right.
never lands. It never feels natural.
Yeah, you're right, because this episode fully worked. And then there's kind of an awkward silence after Nick leaves, and then Six says, I've run out of things to say. I don't know. Did they stick the landing on that scene?
I don't know where else you go with it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Six hadn't been overly talkative, though, in this episode. I think you're just
Right.
taken into consideration. You remember that that's her thing, is that she never shuts up. So, I mean, that's kind of
Fair
funny. Maybe, I feel like there was probably a bunch of scenes they had to cut for time where she was doing her Six thing and talking a mile a minute and not shutting up.
Yeah,
So,
because they got to save 6 minutes at the end for that C&C Music Factory cameo.
oh, just you wait. So, Anthony Sal is trying to get to the bottom of why Ellen hates him.
Right.
And he's giving her reasons of why girls love him, and one of his reasons is that he's not afraid to buy tampons.
Yeah. He says he believes women should have equal rights. He has a great respect for motherhood, and he would go to the store to buy his girlfriend feminine products.
Yeah, cool, bro. What an
Awesome.
ally.
Yeah. I laughed at the next part where he said, "You're an intelligent, albeit incredibly hostile woman."
I don't know how many times I've had to mutter that line in marriage. But what's going on, Sal?
Well, she's mad that he doesn't remember drinking with her in Mexico in 1987. And he says, let's see, tequila, sangria, beer, margaritas, and he smoked a lot of dope. And I was like, are they trying to tell us that this is bad? That just sounds like a really fun time. But he remembers that her name is Ellen Travers, and then he steps back, points in her face, and yells, E.T. And when he does that, did you hear one person in the crowd gasp?
No, I missed that. Was it the same dude overreacting at everything?
It might have been. He has E.T. tattooed on his ankle, and he thought it was a reminder to phone home.
And I said, I'll give them that. That's a funny joke.
I feel like I've heard that joke somewhere before.
Probably, but for a D throwaway storyline with Anthony that he always is in, I thought this one was pretty good.
Yeah. So then she says she ends up forgiving him by saying that she partied a lot and doesn't really remember a lot from that time in her life either. I was like, yeah, all right, maybe it's not so fun. Maybe this was a problem for you guys.
And he says, yeah, I feel like the best times I've ever had are the ones I can't remember. And I said, you're not so special, Anthony. I'm not a junkie, but there's definitely, I've had some good times I don't remember. Like, that's not just a heroin addict thing. Right.
So then the scene ends when he holds up his wrist and he says, do you know anyone with the initials JB? Thoughts on that?
Stuck
They're
the
not
landing.
sticking.
That's fine.
It's okay. All right, where are we at here?
Oh, and then I said, well, and then suddenly former world champion in the WWE, Justin Bradshaw, runs in the kitchen and gives Anthony the clothesline from hell. But that joke is just for you.
Isn't it
And
John
then I have an
Bradshaw?
asterisk that says probably don't read that one out loud. There we go. So Joey made, what was it, $56?
You would have been correct. Something like that.
Something like that.
But the timeline's all off because he says that they picked Buster up at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And previously Nick was in the kitchen at 1 a.m. making sandwiches. I'm calling continuity BS on this.
Someone got fired.
Yeah, but the whole thing of Joey giving Nick the fatherly advice here, I thought was pretty funny, and it worked for their characters as well.
Yeah. He's telling Nick that he doesn't know. Nick, he's implying that Nick doesn't know what it's like to take care of a baby, while Nick is a father of 3. And I said, well, hold up. Remember, Nick is also a deadbeat musician, so he's probably never actually there when the kids were young, helping raise them. So Joey's actually on point with that one.
So he actually might be teaching him something here.
Yeah. All right, we go back in line. The store, Sal, this is my favorite part. Okay, can I take this? The store
Take it away.
is issuing priority bracelets now that the tickets are on sale. So the lineup means nothing. You get randomly assigned bracelets, and that's the order you can get tickets. The ladies got screwed. Their bracelets are in the 200s and 300s. I'm missing a page, but this is exactly where I pressed pause, Sal, and I leaned back and I said, okay, here we go. Limo pulls up. Hey, we're C&C Music Factory. We're lost to the venue. Can you help us find the Rogers Place?
Yeah, you know how the band shows up to when tickets go on sale at 8:00 in the morning.
Totally. We're late to our gig. Can you girls give us directions? And then I pressed unpause, and that's pretty much what happened, Sal. I was very proud of myself.
Yeah. I totally forgot that C&C Music Factory were going to be a part of it up to this point. And when the limo pulled up, I was like, oh, right, here we go. And as I said, I don't know much about C&C Music Factory. So when the first guy walked out of the car, I was like, is that Arsenio Hall? But no, it was C&C Music Factory. And the other guy had the cassette in his pocket ready to go so that they could play things that make you go,
First of all, the girl in the group says, we are giving away front row seats for people with the worst tickets. Just chef's kiss. She really missed she missed the acting boat and went into music. Like, what a shame.
Well,
she watched that back and was like, yeah, missed my calling. Knocked that line out of the park.
After Salt and Peppa, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. And I said, you might as well call it a golden ticket because she's dressed like Willy Wonka. And then the girls say they know every dance that they do, and the one dude no one remembers in the band is like, "Let's see 'em." And he pulls out a cassette tape. No, he doesn't even pull it out. He's just holding this cassette tape of his own
Yeah,
music
that's what I'm saying.
in his hand. And he's like, "Let's see what you got." He borrows their boombox. And these two dance for C&C. And once again, well, Jenna Von Oy dances for C&C Music Factory. Mayim does whatever Mayim does when music plays. And for a while there, did you notice, Sal, they actually cut Blossom out of the shot. And it's just Jenna Von Oy dancing with the band.
I did not, but I'm not surprised. I know there's one part where like Six is like face to face with the singer and they're like singing it to each other. And yeah, I guess they completely cut Blossom out of that part. I thought there was a funny part too where Blossom was like, "We totally have to take a picture of this." And there was a callback to the joke before where they both looked at each other and they're like, "I got the film." And they're like, "God, I hate you."
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
So they're dancing in the street to a C&C Music Factory, and just around the corner, I'm guessing, are the hundreds of people with the other wristbands getting tickets, and nobody sees this. Nobody's rushing them and being like, "Oh my God, it's C&C Music Factory!" Like,
As I said, because this happens like
Yep.
all the time.
no one else
And
notices.
that's how the episode ends.
And
It ends
credits
with
roll.
them dancing to the same song.
Executive producers Paul Jungerwitt, Tony Thomas, and Don Rio. And then we get the lazy credits with the outtakes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even get that part.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't
you
know
have
what to
any
make of this
characters?
episode. I enjoyed it, Sal. I thought
Yeah.
this was a funny episode.
I
but,
liked it overall. I thought it was a good episode considering we hadn't watched this show in a long time. To be like, "Oh yeah, this is what Blossom's about." This is the pace, this is the writing style, the random cameos.
It worked. It wasn't a bad episode. You have C&C Music Factory, like you had Salt and Peppa a couple episodes before, and you have a
Right.
character who has made a living making like he's like a music like he's like a musician, like he knows music theory. He can play multiple episodes like Nick, the character, right? We've established
Right.
that he's actually played on the Dirty Dancing soundtrack and like the Cocktail soundtrack. He shared the stage with Mick Jagger once. Like these are all these incredible things. This man who's dedicated his life to music, and he never seems to have any sort of opinion about like where it's gone in 1992. You think that would be like the easiest, laziest plot if you have C&C Music Factory in your show? Like, why didn't they have this as just like another episode about something and have another one where like he's annoyed at 1992 music, and then when you meet the band, you know, the guy from C&C Music Factory is like, "Oh man, like I grew up with the Beatles. My earliest memory was my dad taking me to see John Lennon, and you know, that was when I wanted to do music, and we fused these genres together." And instead it's just like, "Oh, it's C&C Music Factory."
Yeah, dude. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. They just want to see Blossom and Six just
I
C&C
guess,
Music
like,
Factory.
I don't know. It's just like Nick's sometimes opinionated, and then he's never opinionated about the thing he's the most passionate about in his life. I don't know.
He's
the
all over
Nick
the place,
character
but I don't know
continues to
if-
be completely uneven. All right, so
Agreed.
how do we end these things now? We do the pit, right?
Yeah, we talk about the guesties on the show. We had Mrs. Robinson was played by Deborah Jo Rupp, and she was on the show a few episodes ago as the plumber
Yep.
in 3 o'clock and All Is Hell.
Yep.
But her name on that show was Lucy Robinson, so it's got to be the same character.
Yeah, weird.
But then
Maybe they
guess
kept in
what?
touch after she fixed the toilet.
I guess so, but she's never seen again.
Oh, so
Lucy
she's
Robinson.
officially in the pit?
She's in the pit.
She
That's
went
it
off to
for
do
her.
that 70s show years later.
I guess so. Then we had Leah Remini as Ellen, and I thought where they were going with this was that there was going to be like a ongoing, like kind of relationship with Tony going forward, but nope. Only episode. She's in the pit.
Yeah. Is that it for pit?
That's it for pit.
We usually did like the acting award. Like we gave one character, one actor, actress, thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up, easily Joey Lawrence once again.
Yeah.
He is
agreed.
playing, I think I used this last time I was on this set. He is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers on this show. He is so far above the other actors he's sharing the stage with, and it's each episode the divide gets bigger, I feel. Big shout out to Joey Lawrence.
I won't disagree with you there.
I didn't think anyone was like bad of acting. I guess the C&C Music Factory.
It's no slight on anyone else except for C&C Music Factory. My last note for this episode was Bernard Hughes is Buzz Richmond, and look at his IMDb picture. Just look at it.
Is it bad news?
It's hilarious. No,
Do I have to look at it now?
Funny. I don't know. You don't have to.
Okay. I'll look at it later. Trust me, I'm laughing in the future.
All right.
I think we should do we want to do this new thing where do we want to look ahead to the next one before we wrap up with what we learned this week, which is going to be the new way we end this show? Should we look ahead to the next one first?
No, why don't you wrap up with what you learned this week, and then we'll just say what the next one is.
Okay, so we'll bring the music in and out. Can we get some reflective music, please, Phenom?
Absolutely.
All right.
This is wild.
Here we have, what was this show called again, Sal?
Blossom?
You must remember this. Here is my takeaway from this episode, and I'm touching back to the Anthony storyline, okay? Here's what I learned. If a woman is being standoffish to you for what you think is no reason, it's probably because you banged her when you were drunk and high and forgot about it. Sal, any takeaway from this?
That's yeah, I agree.
What did you learn from this episode, Sal?
It's a good takeaway. I learned that if there's a band that Blossom and Six are going to see, they will more than likely show up in the episode in some forced cameo. Like, I guess Salt and Peppa showing up to a garage sale.
I guess the other...
Yet somehow this felt more random.
I guess the other actual life lesson could be that you can do everything right. You can prepare. You can get the proper permission. You can stand in line. And life will still screw you.
Right.
Life is a bitch, and then you die, Blossom. You've learned that this week, standing in line for those concert tickets. All right. Song's over. Where are we going next, Sal? Take it. It's all you. My notes are done. Next week.
I think Phenom's got it.
Phenom, do you have what's coming up next week? You can kill the music. All timey.
I'm sorry I had nothing to add to that segment.
That's okay.
I forgot that's what we were doing. So
This is the pilot of the new way we're doing this. Where are we going next? Next episode.
Next up is Season 2, Episode 21, House Guests.
Love it.
What do we like?
Can't
Fade to
wait.
black
We're
now?
back.
What do we do? How do we end this?